The purpose of the study was to conduct an experiment that focuses on the use of discussion in the area of United States history. I will be using discussion during a series of tutoring sessions that will better impact the comprehension of the subject material. This study will show the importance of discussion both in the classroom and during group sessions rather than doing homework by themselves. I will be using the social structure approach in small group discussion since I only have a subject pool of one student that will use their higher level thinking skills as well as communication skills to relay the information that they comprehend from the subject material. I wanted to use cooperative learning strategies, but since I only had this subject group of one, this will be beneficial to their future education. My objective is to have the student be able to retain historical information related to the Maryland State Content Standards in order to achieve a passing grade for his next term by discussing topics that are presented now and original ideas that he will enhance his educational experience. Our goal is to have a pre-survey, a post-survey. He will be journaling and conducting a timeline as well as providing me with discussions. An introduction to the student that I was tutoring. He's a 16-year-old male that recently failed his U.S. history course in the Anne Arundel County Public School System. Through our first discussion together, I saw no signs of disabilities. He wasn't aware that he had any learning disabilities. We also focused on the standards that were in his curriculum at his school, and we met at a library for 1 to 2 hour sessions over a course of 14 sessions. Looking at a study conducted by Abdul Rahim, the study revealed that there was a difference between achievement scores in the experimental and control groups. These differences were between a pre and post test that showed the retention scores of the experimental group scoring higher than those of the control group that received no discussion. Looking at a study conducted by Appleby et al., I noticed that they relied on teacher emphasis in the class discussion through promoting authentic questions, open discussion, as well as teacher questions. And I plan on using this and implementing it in my research study by organizing questions that are logical in conjunction with the Maryland State Content Standards, so it's logical for the student to understand and retain the information. Since I am using a social structure approach to the discussion method, I noticed the case study by McGonigal focused on developing problem-solving skills as well as critical thinking skills, and their study developed a plan for discussion through encouragement of participation. Since I only have the subject pool of one, it will be hard for him not to participate since he is the only one that will be giving feedback to all of the questions that I will be asking. Focusing on another research study by Rahman et al., this case study focuses on types of discussion. I will be basically using small numbers groups since I do only have the one student, and I will be responsible for encouraging his participation in the discussion as well as looking for anything that I find of concern, such as lack of participation throughout the research study.
It's always more fun to share with everyone.
The The materials needed to conduct this study would first be the student. I also used Maryland content standards, reading materials such as things off of the internet, as well as his own textbook, questionnaires, and surveys. I also provided mini quizzes throughout his journaling experience. And I provided him for his journaling experience his own spiral notebook, as well as paper, pencil, and any other materials that were needed. During our first discussion together, we sat down and we studied the Maryland State Content Standards, and we chose around 10 topics to study over the next couple of weeks. They ranged from the Reconstruction all the way to present day. They focused on the culture, economical, political, and social development that the United States faced during the 1897 time period to today's time period. Our daily activities included reflection, where he would sit down and write in his notebook what we discussed through the previous class. I would ask him a new question that he would write down in his journal and reflect on that in his own personal time. He also conducted his timeline that was constructed in the journal, as well as new assignments and scores that were received daily. Everything was kept in a journal, both by him and myself. The assessment chart that I kept track of on his discussions and journaling activities was a range of 1, 2, or 3, and they evaluated the topic of the discussion, the clear and logical manner in which he either wrote in his journal about the topic or discussed verbally with me, or the original ideas that he contributed to each topic that we did discuss throughout our sessions together. Every week I would present a new question. Presented below are some of the sample questions that I would ask him. For example, what is the primary purpose of President Franklin Roosevelt's program to plant millions of trees on the Great Plains during the Great Depression? He would then either write in his journal or discuss it verbally with me, and I would give him a score on the subject material that he presented, whether it was weak or strong, and his case for that topic. I scored the questions that I asked him based on his journal activities as well as our discussions at the library. I observed how he came up with his answers, whether it was looking through his notebook or just thinking aloud. I used assessment with the pre and post test as well, and each score was written down in our notebook for that day. Our score sheet ranged from 1 to 3 for the discussions that we had. Through the beginning of our discussions together, I noticed that he wasn't really connecting with what I was asking of him, but throughout our time together, he was improving. He was answering things more logically. I could tell when he was struggling with certain topics, and I would kind of feed off of him, and he would better answer me in that time period. The results indicated that throughout our discussions, he felt more comfortable with what he was answering because he was connecting the topics to one another and relating things to one another, and how the United States went about its economical and political career. And by the end of our time together, he was answering things without me even asking what he thought. He was just presenting his own ideas. Looking back on the case study, there are certain things that I wish I would have done more clearly with him, but overall I feel that he connected with the subject material very well. He became more aware of what was asked of him. He was connecting the content standards to the discussions that we were having, and I would definitely consider continuing this within my own classroom to add discussion to every topic that we have.